Good morning, everyone. Lawrence Fleming here again. Well, it's a rainy day. I had to drive down to this little pavilion area and get underneath it just so I can do my video. I've already done this video once, completely, all the way to the end, inside my tent. And then I played it back and it was too noisy because the rain's hitting on my tarp. That's one of the things that you can do when you're camping. If you know you're going to get rain, you can put a tarp over your tent. That keeps the rain off the tent so the tent doesn't get wet, and you can open up your windows. Because if it's a rainy day and it's been all day raining, then you get, not claustrophobic, but you get tired of being cooped up inside. But if you can open the windows, it's better. Okay, let's get on with our message. I was going to make it a real short message when I was in my tent, and I ended up going to 30 minutes just like I normally do. So I'm going to try to remember what I talked about. This is inspirational messages from God, so I don't always remember. In fact, half the time when I record these, and I put them up on YouTube and I have to give it a title, I can't give it a title because I don't remember what I talked about. I just open the spigot and let God talk, and then I shut my mouth and post it. All right, for today what I want to talk about, you can't just have one set of verses to get you through life. You need a whole set. When Jesus was tempted, he was tempted multiple times. He was tempted with a verse, and then he came back with a verse to counteract it. He had multiple defenses. And if he had to have attacks, he'd have multiple attacks. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, and I know that just one discipline won't get you through all your battles. I'm a follower was of Bruce Lee when he was alive, and Jackie Chan now, and they basically will tell you the same thing. You've got to know multiple disciplines, because there's no way you can fight somebody of your same discipline if they're at your level. But if you know something else they don't, then you can still win. So we've got to have multiple verses. And you've got to have multiple ideas about how things are. So I watch quite a number of channels on YouTube. I've got a whole bunch of them that I watch all during the week. That's kind of why I have all my time is used up during the week. I use up my bandwidth on T-Mobile. I'm either uploading or downloading. I've got somebody walking through the camp. Where did they go? I'm just wandering through. All right, so I'm going to give you my list of channels that I watch during the week. And they don't always post. Some of them are done and I'm just watching their legacy videos. Others are posting daily. So you've got to just, subscribe to each channel and just look and see what they've got. And you can also go to their channels as well as mine and do a search and find other videos. Don't just look at the first video on the list and then stop. I talk about pretty much every topic. I got people that are meaning very well will come up after I talk on video on love of money or something, and they're talking on something else to do with the end times or something else, bread of life or something else, and they give me 20 verses and do 2 paragraphs. Well, look at my video previously. I just talked about that. Now, I enjoy when people leave comments like that. They're constructive and I don't have a problem. But a lot of times I've already covered all these. All right, so I'm going to go through, what am I looking at? That's the person whose car was over there in the parking lot. They were just returning. Okay, there's a trailhead not too far from here, and they must have parked there to walk over to it. All right, the first on my list is Dr. Charles Stanley. Now, he's retired, but he's been preaching for years, and he's been in the Atlanta area with a big church here. I tried to go to it a couple times, but their parking lot was full and it's hard to get to from where I was living at, so I just watch them online. I had my regular church at the time. I just took a break from that to go see him, so I decided to just stay with my regular church and watch him online. And he's got all of his videos for over the years that he's been here teaching. So if you want a feel-good minister, I don't mean a woke minister, I don't mean, pat you on the back stuff, but he teaches good Bible instruction, but you'll feel good after you watch him. A lot of us that talk about the end times can get off on a subject that might make you feel bad. I try to comfort when I can, but some of the messages are just too rough. So, especially if those that are talking about what's current in the news. But Dr. Charles Stanley. Okay, the next one, if you'd want a good Bible teacher, this guy travels around the world and teaches ministers to, be ministers in their churches. They may be in Africa, they may be in Europe, they may be any place. He will travel to them. He's even smuggled Bibles into, I don't know if it was Iraq or Iran or one of the places that, they were banned, and he got them in there. He's been doing this stuff for a long time. And that's John Samuel Barnett. His YouTube page, I think, is DTBM, Discover the Book Ministries. And one of his series is his, 52 weeks of the Bible. So he's really good at teaching the Bible. Now, I'm not 100% confident in his prophetic teaching, but the general Bible is great. Okay, there are a bunch of pastors that I watch that are in California. I'm originally from there. And the Calvary Chapel series out there, that there's a number of them out there. I started when I was in the Navy going to one of them with Chuck Smith, who is, if you heard of Maranatha music, they got created pretty much with his blessing and help and all the revival that was going on in the 70s. And he'd have, Christian concerts on the weekend, and young people would just flock from all over the South down there in Southern California to go to it, myself included. So we've got some of his proteges and contemporaries that teach. He's not teaching anymore, but you can find some of his old videos. But you can find like Laurie is one of his proteges. Grew up in his church and went into the ministry. Other ones down there that I like are Jack Hibbs, Real Life with Jack Hibbs. You can find him on YouTube. And you can even watch their Sunday services because they're pastors with operating churches. Another one that I like, Tom Hughes, Hope for Our Times. He talks about the end times. He's pretty knowledgeable of the Bible. He'll give you, pros and cons of what's going on out there, tell you that, that some of this teaching isn't any good, be careful of it. So he'll give you a lot of that. I'm going to go fast through these because I'm still trying to get it uploaded pretty fast. I'm fighting T-Mobile right now with my bandwidth. I'm out. It took me literally 2 days to get yesterday's video posted. I haven't tried this one yet. We'll find out. Okay, back to my list. These are in order that I watched them, not necessarily in the order that you would want to watch them, so you might rearrange them. I follow and watch Amir Tsarfati. He lives in Jerusalem in Galilee, so we're getting, horse's mouth. He's a Jew, but he's a Christian Jew. There are a lot of them around. We have Jews for Jesus and other ministries where they're Jewish by birth or by relation, but they are Christians. We need more of them. The 144,000 are going to be some of those, and they're going to create a lot more. And he also, appears locally. You might catch him traveling. He travels the world. Another website that I like to watch, Prophecy Watchers. They're obviously talking the end times, and they're one of these shows that have, sometimes the main guy will talk, but other times they have guests. And so I like those. And one of his guests is Billy Crone. And you'll see him traveling and talking at different get-togethers at different churches. And you can also catch him on Prophecy Watchers. I like him. Another one, J.D. Farag. He's a good one. I like watching him. You'll see him, if you've seen the Before the Wrath movie, he's one of the speakers in that. You're going to see some of these that are on my list from that movie. See the movie. It's a good movie about what the time would have been like for a Jewish wedding. And the only thing that I disagree with on the movie, and it's somewhat, I don't want to say Hollywood because they're not Hollywood. It's a Christian organization put this movie together. But they have us going in the rapture up to a wedding feast, which would have been typical of a Jewish wedding to go right to the wedding feast. Well, we're not. The wedding feast can't be right at the rapture in the beginning because it would be wrong to have a wedding feast with all the horrors going on earth. The wedding feast is at the end of the tribulation in the New Jerusalem. Beautiful place to have a wedding feast. So that's when it's scheduled. But other than that, and the basic topic of it is correct, we are going to go to a wedding feast. It's just not immediate. Let's see. Jan Markell, she's also got a interview type program. She brings in all these different guests. It could be any of the people on my list, plus some. And they're talking about whatever's topical in the Christian world. So she does these radio shows, as they're called. There's no video, but you can listen to these, and they're very interesting. And she's been doing this a long time. She's also in the movie. James Kaddis. This list will be posted down below in the description, so don't worry about it. He's with Calvary Chapel out in California, and he's very outgoing. He's going to get up there and talk like this, you know. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm more mellow for that. But he will be outgoing, and he sometimes has guests, and he will have Tom Hughes. He has a weekly show that, or I don't know, weekly or daily or whatever it is, with Tom Hughes. So you can catch him on there as well. Let's see. Todd Friel. He's got a web show on YouTube called Wretched. We are wretched. Before Jesus helps us and saves us, we are wretched. And so that's his show. And so he's like a newscaster almost. He talks like that. He's very outgoing, but very good show. And he will talk topical Christianity as well. Erik Stakelbeck. He's got the Watchman show. He's on YouTube, and he's also sometimes has a show on TBN, I think it is. He will go to Jerusalem and give you news stories there. He'll interview the generals. He's been up on the Golan Heights and other places to take you places. He's here in the United States base, but he goes over there sometimes. And he will give you basically what's going on over there, the topical news. That may bring in Russia or any of the other things that are going on. So follow him. I put these two together because they are our date setters. Now, don't condemn them for that. They're trying. But they do a lot of work to come up with these so-called dates. So listen to the work. Look up what they come up with. Verify it. They do a lot of work to come up with these dates. Just ignore the dates because nobody knows. And it's not the verse that says nobody knows the day or the hour. That's got nothing to do with the rapture. That's only to do with the second coming. But anyhow, I put them in the out there category. Brenda Weltner, a very good teacher. She gets her studies right. She's got a couple of ideas on some things that are not quite normal. But most of prophecy is not normal. If there's so many things that have been taught wrong for years, and they're just picked up and regurgitated and given back to everybody, and you think that they're right, but they're not. So prophecy is something that the Spirit only can teach. It's not something you can read and analyze. It's prophetic, and it's meant to be taught by prophets or by the Spirit. In fact, Daniel was told to shut up the book. It's not for you, it's for the end times. So when it's time, people will understand it. But like the very first rapture, it's not really defined properly. We don't have any way where you can pick a date. The closest you can get to it is Revelation 12, where the devil or Satan throws his third of his angels to earth and they go after the child. Remember, we're experiencing birth pains. The Revelation 12 sign, and then he throws his angels to earth and goes after the child. Then we're raptured, and the word harpazo is used there, which is translated into rapture in Latin, rapturo, actually. Okay, the other one is Dr. Barry. He is funny to watch. It makes it entertaining, but he also tries to give you possible dates. Now, I will call them high watches, but I won't give you a date. We've got a current one from him, which is Hanukkah coming up. It's not a Jewish holiday that we're going to be matching up with. We're the Christian church. We're not the Jewish church. It's going to be something either totally obscure or, we have Christmas coming up. That would be something. Satan would be, in his form to attack Christians on Christmas. So be ready. That's the key. We don't know. Okay, so Dr. Barry is very good about lining up timelines of what's happened in the past. When did the flood happen? What's happening on that date every year since then? Things like that. So he's real good with that. He's got his Bible marked up more than anybody I've ever seen. So follow him. But be patient with dates. Anybody who's given you a date, just pick it up, store it someplace, and move on. Don't go packing your bags and getting ready. Okay, now, since we're in a world that's going to hell in a handbasket, I follow some prepper type. I'm not talking about building bomb shelters and hunkering down for 10 years. I'm just saying we don't know when this is going to happen, so you need, a few months, 2 or 3, 4 months worth of supplies just in case. You may never use any of it, in which case leave tracts throughout all your prepping supplies for wherever your family is that doesn't accept Christ on the first trial. They may have to accept him after we're gone. If you've been talking to them, they're going to notice God and the world going to hell in a handbasket and think maybe you did have it right, especially when you're gone and nobody can find you. So anyhow, Appalachia's homestead with Patara. Her and her husband live in Tennessee, East Tennessee. They have a ranch there, and you're going to see all kinds of things. They're going to be out feeding chickens. She just had a problem with her sick cow, and she had to deal with some medical issues with it. She also does canning and cooking, and you're going to get to see videos of all this stuff. And she's very boisterous, outgoing. And her husband have the farm, but she does most of the talking. Okay, so they're a fun one to watch. And just, telling you to, collect your seeds in advance for your planting because they're going to be in short supply. That's a prepping supply thing to let you know about. And just make sure you've got everything you need. There's another one. He's ex-military, special forces type, the Prepared Homestead. He's out Midwestern, Western areas. I don't know if it's the Dakotas or someplace. He's out there, and he and a bunch of his other prepping friends live out there. They're not burying themselves away, but they're telling you what you need to know. And he talks topicals, and he does things like I do, where he goes for a walk, and he'll talk to you on his walk. So I like him. For just general survival out in the wilderness, if you remember the show Dual Survival, Dave Canterbury was one of the guys on that, and I personally talked to him, and he's a cool guy. He's got a show on. He's got his Pathfinder school that he runs. I think he's in Ohio. And you can actually, if you're up in that area, you can sign up and take his survival courses. And there's 3 levels of them or something like that. So you learn the basics, how to build a fire, how to build a simple trap, and then how to cook things out there and how to clean Dutch ovens and out in the wild. So a very good survival show, if you can find him. Dave Canterbury, Pathfinder School. Recently, we've been talking about this one guy and his website because of earthquakes. I think there's 24 active earthquakes in the world right now. Crazy going on. Lots of earthquakes. Dutchsince. Again, he'll be on my list. He does the earth tracking things up there where he show you how the earthquakes start here and then they come out over here. There's waves that travel through because our crust of our earth is actually sitting, balancing on the molten lava down below, so it's kind of floating. and it goes through the waves of that. So earthquakes travel. He can't tell you the first one, but he can tell you where that one's going to go. You know, where to watch for alerts. And he's been very accurate. So accurate that the government hates him because they don't want you to know things are going bad around the earth. We're talking about wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes and famines. They don't want you knowing about that. They want you looking at them. Okay, so he sometimes has problems with them. Now, news. If you're watching any of the mainstream media, you're not going to get the full truth. They may give you a glimpse at something, but then they'll lie all around it to feed a false narrative. Satan couldn't do a better job of controlling the media than what's coming out right now. Even Fox News, who used to be very conservative, tries to be down the middle of the road too many times. They ought to be full right, but they're not. So you may have a problem with some of them. But you got to find like Glenn Beck. I watch him. He used to work for Fox News, but he was too conservative for them, and they fired him, and he went and created Blaze TV. And he's got a regular website you can go to called Blaze TV and sign up there, or you can watch him on YouTube. A lot of times, like we all have to do on YouTube, we have to restrict what we say, but he can do whatever he wants on his own channel. So check Glenn Beck out. A couple other people just that I thought of at the last minute. Billy Graham is gone now. He has videos out there that you can go watch these amazing things where he's talking to 50,000 people. It's amazing watching him. And his son is still out there, Franklin Graham. And he travels around with his Samaritan's Purse. Whenever there's a natural disaster, he will fly in supplies or truck them in, whatever it takes. And you can support them. They always need donations. The Red Cross needs donations. Everybody needs donations. If we're working for the Lord, we need help. If we're helping people, and you're not doing it directly, if you're doing it directly, you need your own source of revenue. You should have your own funding pages. But like my channel, I need funding too, a little bit. I don't need a lot, but sometimes I have extra things and I got to be able to save up for them. I make enough to continue on, but if something goes wrong, I have to replace that. I had to put new tires on my car a while back and I had to ask for help for that. I only put 2 on because that's all I needed at the time. At some point in time, I may ask for help for a satellite system, the real kind. I did a while back, and I didn't get that. I ended up getting the WeBoost, which worked better for the short term. Government hasn't released internet to the basic satellite transmitters yet. But SpaceX has their satellites around the world, and you can get that unit. But I haven't asked for help on that because it's a bit pricey. The SpaceX box itself is about $400 or $500, and it's $140 a month, something like that. You get a portable unit. You can travel. I can travel any place I go in the world. Pretty much, I can have internet. I'm fighting with it right now. T-Mobile is not being very helpful. I've got their maximum transmission. I've got 100 gig. I've got a little bit on my phone, but basically, when I reach my limit, I have a hard time uploading. Like I said, it took 2 days to upload my video yesterday. I finally had to drive to a Wi-Fi hotspot and upload it there because Wi-Fi doesn't use, if it's somebody else's, doesn't use my channel. Now, T-Mobile's good in most cases, but they have a limit. And once I reach the limit, you can't do anything about it. And take a look in my descriptions down below. There's other ways that you can connect. I have a Telegram account. I don't post a lot to it. That's my backup in case YouTube takes me down. The problem is with Telegram is I can't do full videos. I put links up there to my YouTube pages, but I can't do full videos. They don't allow that. I'm hoping at some point in time they will. If you remember, they came up online and said that we're not going to play games like these other, sites are, like YouTube and Twitter in the beginning and Facebook, and they immediately took them down. They took down their server because, if you post it on somebody else's stuff, it's on somebody else's server. Glenn Beck has his own server. They can't take them down. Telegram is on a private server now that they can't take down. They might put a filter into the internet to actually try to block them, but that's a fairly major thing. They're not quite willing to do that yet. And a lot of this stuff is going to go away when the government begins to fully take over. And if we get in a war with somebody, the first thing they're going to do is do an EMP hit. Look what this small, I don't know who did it, but in North Carolina, they took out a power substation. Now, the news came on immediately and attacked the conservatives. That may or may not be right. I don't know. But it seemed logical because he said that part of the power went to some place that there was going to be a drag queen competition. And the power went out for them. So it could be. Don't take things into your own hands. That's not the right way to do this. Let God deal with it. This is a spiritual battle. But anyhow, they took the grid down. And notice how easy it was to take the grid down. That was my point. And we've got open borders. Now, if you're a Hispanic coming across the border, welcome to America. Please get out and do what you normally do here and get a job and help us out. We love when you come across the border and work here. It's open. But the rest of the world, we're not open to. For one, we can't fit everybody in the world in this country. Two, you need to know that we're going just as, left wing as your countries have been. We're going to be as bad as Venezuela here in a little bit. So think about all the trouble it's going to take and all the money it's going to take to get here. You may not find a free country anymore. It may be just as bad as the country you left. It's better off you stay where you're at. But for those that are coming across from the Middle East with terroristic plans, remember the 9/11 people lived here and operated here freely, under the radar. Nobody knew what they were doing. They told their flight instructors, "We only want to know how to take off. We don't need to know how to land." Can you believe we didn't react? But there's more here. And there could be people here right now sitting on suitcase bombs, suitcase nukes. There's a lot of them missing. They could have other things here. They could have EMP bombs. They could have a full-fledged nuclear bomb someplace, and we don't know about it. They're waiting, just like they did with 9/11. They were here for years. They're waiting until somebody says go. That's all they're waiting on. And they're not going to expose themselves. They're not going to get up on social media and start criticizing. They're going to stay under the radar until it's time, like the last group did. I'm seeing my breath. It's getting cold behind this front. I'm going to have to get in and hunker down. Okay. So look at my descriptions. You can see, I'm also on Rumble and I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram, but I don't really support any of those. Twitter maybe start opening back up again. I don't know if they're going to get away with what they're going to do. The government may crack down and say you're going to have to do what you need to do. Might end up selling Twitter. They might force him out of it. He may be the richest man in the world, but he's not the most powerful. And if you're not willing to stoop to the level of your enemy, they're going to win. If the enemy could hire 1,000 people as hitmen to come out and get you, unless you're willing to do the same thing, you're not going to stay alive. That's why I worry about some of our politicians, our right politicians. They've done it in the past. Just remember the Kennedys, Martin Luther King. They don't like what you're doing, they'll take you out. Now, I'm not encouraging that by any means, and I'm not telling people to expect it, but I'm just saying they've done it in the past. Okay. Now, subscribe to my channel. I do this in the beginning, but I'm going to tell you, like my page. I don't know what happened with my video before last. I got so many views out of it and so many new people, and it's great, and that's the way it should be on a free YouTube. Their filter must have been turned off for that video. I don't understand it. I wish it was like that every day. When I first started my channel, it grew real fast, and then it stopped. They put the filters on. Then I had to learn to talk YouTube or social media. No using the C word. I could say the big C or our fearless leader, but I couldn't mention names. I still can't. But I don't know what happened with that video. 2,600 views. That's great. And I haven't changed anything. My hashtags are the same. Nothing changed. But that's the way this world should be. But it's not all the time. But I need your help to make sure that it can be as good as it can. Share these videos on your page. That helps to exponentially move things out. Like and subscribe. Click the bell icon and you'll be notified when I release a new video. You don't necessarily have to do that unless you like my cartoon stuff that I do during the day. I try to lighten things up. Some of these videos can be a little down. The future is bleak for the world, not for Christians, but bleak for the world. And Jesus did cry when he rode into Jerusalem for the people there. So you can help me out, though, by looking at the descriptions. See, I've got some fundraising places there. Also, my son is in Peru right now. That's his ministry. He goes down there on a regular basis. I'm trying to get him a sponsor that will let him get a work visa and stay there longer, but right now it's 90 days there, 90 days back, and he can freely do that. He and I are both not ordained, but he's worked in a church for over 12 years on their staff and taught and stuff. I've taught for 40 years Bible studies. I've been doing this. I worked in aerospace designing a satellite without a degree. I don't believe in colleges. I don't like what they're doing. I don't like the way they teach. They're behind times, for one, and they're also becoming propaganda machines, too. Putting your kids in college is teaching them to hate conservatives. That's a problem. So they can get a regular job, quote unquote. You want to know what a regular job is? Watch Mike Rowe. He's another one to watch. He'll tell you how you can make more money as a plumber than you can as an electrical engineer starting out. My son, my oldest son, who has his own company, by the way, quit college in his junior year to take a job making six figures when he was 23, something like that. And that led him into his career where he basically created his own company. And that's what he does, without a degree. Bill Gates didn't have a degree. And don't follow him. He's crazy in this new world stuff. But he didn't have a degree, and he created Microsoft. Paul was the engineer type. But you don't need a college degree. There's plenty of good jobs out there. There are more jobs in our country than people willing to work. That's a problem we've got right now. I've talked about it before. All right, how are we doing on time? I am over my limit. Friend on here mentioned I didn't put a video at the end. I can't put videos on the end until I get my data back from T-Mobile. I'm doing my best to get these short videos. I get a little over 30 minutes. If I tack another 3 or 4 minute video on, it takes longer. I have to go sit in a hot spot to get these videos uploaded. Once I get my bandwidth back, which should be this week, then I'll go back to tacking them on. All right. Keep busy. Stay in the Word. Learn from these other teachers. I learn from them better than I do from reading the Bible because I don't visualize. I've talked about that before. But I do both. I have to reference the Bible for my studies here. But right now, I'm just giving you tools, helping you build your tools. And this list will be down below. And if you have your own, that's great. You can list them if you want. I may give them a shot, but I'm frankly at the limit of what I can handle right now. I spend all week watching these guys. Some post every day, some don't. Some are legacy that, like Dr. Charles Stanley, that have been out there with all of his videos for years. You can go search their titles and pick what you want. I've got multiple ones too, Don't just look at the first one that I've got, look at the previous ones. And your support is always appreciated, financially and by just liking, subscribing. That helps out, and sharing. You can do that as well. Okay, until we meet in the clouds, God bless.